They didn't ask if she was okay. They didn't ask how the pressure felt. According to Rose McGowan, when she returned to Charmed each season, powerful executives would literally circle her body, not to congratulate her, but to check her weight. And in that moment, she says, it became painfully clear she wasn't being treated like a person. She was being inspected like a product. When Rose McGowan joined Charmed in 2001, it wasn't a fresh start, it was a replacement. She stepped into the show during its 4th season, taking over a role that once belonged to Shannon Doherty, a move already surrounded by tension and unanswered questions. No one explained what really happened. Rose later said she was simply told Shannon had been fired, and then the subject was shut down completely. The silence was heavy, and it sent a message without saying a word. She was walking onto a hit series, but also into a space shaped by conflict, rumors, and unspoken rules. And from day one, the pressure to prove she belonged was relentless. But the pressure didn't stop at fitting into the role, it extended to her body. Rose McGowan says that every time a new season began, executives would pay unusually close attention to her weight, not through conversations, not through concern. She recalls them physically circling her, watching, assessing, as if nothing else about her mattered in that moment. To Rose, it felt less like professional oversight and more like inspection. She later described it as executives checking their product, a phrase that still makes people uncomfortable today. And what's most disturbing is that at the time, no one questioned it. It was treated as completely normal. When people hear stories like this, the first excuse is always the same. It was a different time. And Rose McGowan doesn't completely disagree. She admits Hollywood back then had no filter, no shame, and no hesitation about crossing lines. The control was obvious. The judgment was open. But what makes her pause is what came after. Rose suggests that today's industry hasn't necessarily changed its mindset, it's just learned how to disguise it. Now there are statements, policies, and carefully chosen words, what she calls lip service. The question she leaves hanging is unsettling. Did Hollywood actually grow, or did it simply get better at hiding the same behavior behind a polished image? And what made it even more unsettling was that Rose wasn't struggling for relevance. She was already famous. She had starred in Scream. She had become a pop culture fixture through films like Jawbreaker. Her face was everywhere. Yet behind closed doors, she says she felt untouchable in the worst way. Studios weren't lining up to protect her. They were quietly backing away. Rose has described herself at that time as non-hireable, a label that followed her without explanation. She believes whispers painted her as difficult, disruptive, someone not worth the risk. So while the world saw success, she felt exposed, visible but never safe. Years later, the story came full circle in a way Rose never expected. She and Shannon Doherty eventually really talked about what happened back then. And in that conversation, something clicked. Rose realized she wasn't alone in how she'd been portrayed. Shannon, too, knew what it felt like to be crushed by headlines, labeled unfairly, and turned into a problem instead of a person. Rose later said they bonded over the weight of having the media machine lie about you and watching those lies follow you everywhere. After Shannon's death in 2024, that connection took on even deeper meaning. What once felt like rivalry was replaced by understanding. Two women realizing they had been caught in the same system, just at different moments. Looking back, Rose McGowan now sees her time on Charmed as part of a much bigger pattern. Years after leaving the show, she became one of the earliest and loudest voices in the Me Too movement, openly speaking about abuse and power imbalances in Hollywood. Accusations surfaced against powerful figures, and Rose stopped being quiet, even when it cost her work, relationships, and peace. In that context, the weight checks and constant scrutiny no longer felt isolated or random. To her, they were early signs of an industry built on control, silence, and fear. Moments that once seemed uncomfortable now looked like warnings she hadn't been allowed to recognize at the time. So looking back, the story of Rose McGowan on Charmed isn't just about one actress, one show, or one harsh era of Hollywood. It's a glimpse into a system that measured women by compliance, polished appearances, and silent obedience. Even today, she questions whether much has truly changed, or if the industry has simply learned how to disguise its control behind polished statements and social media campaigns. What she calls lip service. The question she leaves hanging is unsettling. Did Hollywood actually grow, or did it simply get better at hiding the same behavior behind a polished image? It's a story that makes you pause, reflect, and maybe even speak up, because some truths, once revealed, can't be ignored.